Hi there. In this video, we are going to be defining the terms period and frequency for something that repeats, like these coins going around on this turntable in this little animation here. First, shout out to the YouTube channel Flipping Physics for creating this wonderful animation for us to look at. So, we're going to start by filling out the table that's at the top right of the screen. So in the left column, we can see that it says the time to complete one full cycle in units of seconds per cycle. And it's already filled out, so if we've got a quarter second for a cycle, a half a second per cycle, 1 second per cycle, 2 seconds per cycle, and 4 seconds per cycle. And what I'd like you to think about then is if we know how much time one full cycle takes, which is what the left column says, can we fill in the right column, which is how many cycles do we complete in 1 full second, measured in units of cycles per second. So I'll give you a moment to think about that for yourself first. Maybe pause the video. How would you fill in the right side of the column? Think about it, and then I'll start answering that question in 3, 2, 1. All right. So if it takes 1/4 of a second to complete a cycle, then that means we can fit 4 full cycles in a whole second. Right? So 1/4 of a second per cycle means we can get 4 cycles in 1 second. If it takes a half a second to complete a cycle, then we can get 2 full cycles completed in 1 second. This is the hard one. If it takes us 1 second to complete a cycle, then we complete 1 cycle in a second. For the next one, if it takes us 2 full seconds to complete a cycle, that means we aren't going to complete a full cycle in 1 second. In fact, we're only going to complete half a cycle per second. And last but not least, if it takes us 4 full seconds to complete a cycle, it takes a quarter of a cycle each second, right? We go around 1/4 of the cycle each second. When I say cycle here, I mean how much time does it take to go all the way around the circle? And so now we're ready to define 2 terms that are clearly related to one another, but are distinct. So let's get some definitions going. Our first definition is going to be the term for the left column in this table. We're going to call that the period, and we're going to use the letter capital T as its abbreviation. So the period is the time it takes to complete 1 full cycle. And the SI units for this are seconds per cycle. And really, cycle is just a counting thing, so we can leave it off, and we can say the SI units are seconds. The right-hand column we're going to define as frequency, and we'll use the letter lowercase f as our variable for frequency. And this is the number of cycles that get completed per unit time. It's a good term for it because it's how frequently, how often the object makes it around the circle. The SI units for frequency are cycles per second. And again, cycles is just a counting thing, so we can write that as 1/seconds. And here is a newly defined term for us, or unit, which is the Hertz, H-E-R-T-Z, named after Heinrich Hertz, and it's abbreviated Hz. And that's just a way to say 1/seconds. And so if you hear that a frequency is 30 hertz, that means that you're going through 30 cycles in 1 second. And from our table, we can clearly see that there's a mathematical relationship between frequency and period, and in fact, they are inverses of each other. The frequency is 1 the period, or equivalently, the period is 1 the frequency. So here's our terms, period and frequency, and they are distinct. One is how much time it takes for a cycle, the period, and the frequency is how many cycles you complete in 1 second. So you need to know what both of those are and how to translate between the two. They are inverses of one another. Thank you.